There are many people who joined at, let's say, 20,000 rupees per month and now earning like 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees per month.
What would you like people to know about Anveshan's culture?
We hardly give increments when somebody joins from somewhere else. But if they outperform, then we are okay to give you like 100% increment. I'm not saying this is the right culture. This is our culture.
What would be your advice to someone who aspires to build a brand?
We as Indian founders are like so much obsessed with our ideas. We treat them as our babies.
Hey Kuldeep, super fun to have you with us today. Uh, Let me take a moment to talk a bit about Anveshan, because I've seen you build Anveshan from the grounds up, and you recently announced like a Series B round where you've raised, I think, over 100 crores, which is over $15 million, and also the brand has grown quite a bit. Why don't you start by giving the audience just a quick overview of what running a D2C brand even looks like? What are the kind of teams that are there? What is the size of those teams looks like? Who are the key people that you work with? So if you can give a quick flavor of what are the different people who are working behind building such a big brand, that would be amazing.
Sure. So, like if I specifically talk about Anveshan, so we are a healthy food brand and we essentially focus in ghee and oils as a category. Like our vision was to replace all unhealthy or highly processed items from our kitchen and replace it with the original real food, how like a food should be. So if I have to categorize, then first of all, like as a brand, our essential aim is to sell our product. So one is like the sales team. So that is like our first core division where we have like almost today we have around 20, 22 candidates like who are like working in this function. But that is essentially like our first big team. And in the sales itself, like we have D2C channel. So almost a year ago, like we used to do some 1.5 to 2 crores of monthly revenue on our D2C channel. And this month also we are expecting roughly 12 crore uh, just from this month in terms of
And
revenue.
just to clarify, when you say D2C channel for the audience, it's basically like all the sales that are coming directly from your website or directly from your app, and not from the third party marketplaces like quick commerce,
Yes.
e-commerce, etc. You're
Yes.
saying that channel a year back used to do 1.5 crores a month, and now
12 crores a month. We did 12
12
crores.
crores a month. So it's gone 10x.
Yeah.
Uh, wow.
This is like our second big division which we handle. Then third, I would say finance. Today we have like some 18 people in finance. Then we have operations and supply chain basically. So there also like we have used AI and tech a lot, but still that is like one of our very large team with like more than 100, people in that. And there are like some quality and R&D team inside this team where we have almost 15 to 16 people who just work on quality and R&D because each and every batch which we sell to consumers, we perform in-house test for each and every batch. So that is also like one of our core function and division. And apart from that, like we have branding team, which is the core heart of the brand, which basically does everything like planning and any communication which is going out from the brand, any ad, any sort of thing. So they basically take care of that.
I think you mentioned about it briefly, but I'd love to, just deep dive there right away. Nowadays, there is so much talk about what are the teams, what are the roles that are getting disrupted because of AI. What roles do you think in your company are, roles where AI is being used disproportionately, or where it has kind of shaken things up in terms of how people used to work?
Sure. So I think first of all, like all three of us are come from computer science background. So I, Ayushi, and Akhil. So we have tried. So we are not a tech-led company, but we are like a tech-backed company. So from day one, we have been using a lot of tech systems. For example, the ERP is completely in-house. Then customer managing a customer data lake. So a lot of things like we have done in-house. And with AI, like now things have become even more crazy. So I'll tell you, like we follow a metric that how much percentage of our company's OKR is being handled by AI or being managed by AI. One small example. So there was like a set of team who used to upload orders to our ecosystem. So basically there are like some 10, 20 channels. So somebody would send you on email, somebody would send you as a PDF, somebody would send it as a text file, somebody would send you on WhatsApp. So there are like some 10, 15 channels who send you orders and then you need to collate them. Now, each channel calls your SKU as a different SKU code. So in your ecosystem, you will have to tally that, okay, this ego, like in this channel, if this SKU is this, that means in my channel, this SKU means this much. So somebody would do that thing and then upload all that orders in our ERP. So a person used to do this, and then there was a team. And then as we grew, like there were two, three people who were like just uploading. So then we realized that what is this? Like, this is a very easy task where we just need to open that email or do whatever is required and just upload it. So we basically started with this small problem, and then we just build our tool, and now everything is done automated. So those three people who were doing this are not no longer required for this job, and they are now doing something else in the company. So there are like a lot of people in our company who were like, let's say at a 25, 30,000 kind of pay scale, and they were doing a lot of these tedious tasks. Now many of those people are replaced completely, and many of those people have only, upgraded or like learned things, and now they are, let's say, maybe earning 40, 50, 60,000 rupees, managing these kinds of maybe 5, 6 tasks just alone. So I think each and every team, similarly in design branding also, they are using a lot of tool through which they can do fast editing, or like for copywriting they use. So I think hardly there is like a single team in our company who is not using AI. Like,
Wow. And yeah, I think a lot of individuals are using AI. I think, but what you also mentioned, which is interesting, is that you've built a lot of in house tools already to solve for some of these things which would take a lot of time. And who are the people who are building these in-house tools? Are the people who were earlier doing this task manually, are they building it, or do you have like someone centrally who's building these tools? Like, how does it work? Because I'm sure a lot of people would want to build more such tools, and you have, say, a computer science background, so it's maybe slightly more easier for you guys to think on how to build these. But some people are still on the fence whether they should build these in-house or not.
so almost like a year ago, one of my investor, Hariharan, like he's partner at DSG. So he told me that, Kuldeep, if you want to like take AI in frontline, like you can't alone do it. Like you have to build few more evangelists in the company who would actually build and show people that, hey, this AI can do. So you can also leverage that. So we started heavily in our founder's office. So I hired two, three folks like who were from IITs and who were very keen in order to build something. And even not just IIT, like there were a few more like interest people like who were very much, I would say, curious about AI, somebody who would learn more, do things. So I think they started, and then in the company, basically we allocated them to different divisions that now go and try to help those people. So these people, like we just throw them at problems, and they are like very sort of, I would say, like they have the fire that they want to do something. So even if they don't know anything about that function, like they will read, they will talk to people, and they'll figure out. They will not give excuses. So we have built like some three, four, five folks, and we are trying to add more people in this founders office team. But they are like they just go and they help any division, any function, and they try to basically uplift them, providing all of these learnings.
Interesting. If I, now just turn the switch to hiring, I'm sure you're hiring for a lot of roles today. And I'm sure you've like hired, hundreds of people, in the past. How do you think about hiring in general? When you think about all the hiring decisions you've taken, what are the kind of things which you think have worked really well for you? And what are some of the things which probably didn't work so well? These were learnings that you had which other people could benefit from.
Sure. So I think with time now we have like few set of questions, or you would say like few markers which we try to identify in any person who is like joining our clan. You can only assess somebody based on skill and like attitude. And again, like skill is something which can be learned over period of time. But attitude is something which you are born with. So on these two criteria, like we are okay with having low skill, but like high intent, and high passion, and like high attitude towards doing something crazy. And then usually we don't directly, for many roles, like we tell them that there are like 1,000 companies or maybe 1 lakh companies out there, and then there are 1 lakh people out there. So there is no compulsion for us to work together, right? So at the end, it is very important that in this relationship, both of us are very happy. Then only it will be a successful relationship. So you also need to be happy, and I also need to be happy. So as an employer and as an employee, both needs to be super happy. Then only we can grow. So if we are honest with what we expect, if you're getting all of those things, so I think we do that honest conversation very clearly. So we tell them that we are building a rocket ship, And in rocket ship, like each and every part of that rocket ship needs to be like super amazing. So we can't like tolerate incompetency, right? Like this is also true that tolerating incompetency is an incompetency sign. So over there also, like we tell all of this very honestly to people like who come. So it filters out a lot of people. We tell them that, hey, if you're looking like a regular 9 to 5 and you would like to enjoy your weekends, then maybe we would again meet in some time when maybe we would be living that kind of a life. But right now we are like on a you can say treadmill, or we are in the middle of war, so we have to perform, we have to do crazy things. For example, today there is my founder's office, Prabhat, so he's my chief of staff. So he was a professional poker player for like 4 5 years, and then when this GST rule and everything came, so he thought of quitting, he thought of like exploring something else. So he just talked to me one day that, hey, I'm trying to do something. So I said, come over, let's do something. And today you won't believe, like like I now there is like entire company, I and then Prabhat in between. So he filters out everything and then he brings to me. And he has made me productive at least 3 4 times. So if I was doing something, now I can do 2x 3x more time. Because a lot of the projects where I was just supposed to go there and take update, like he does all of that. And I get like just a summary of it, and then I just have to act on something which is like most critical. So again, like you just so what I'm trying to say that different things have worked out in our journey, but I think that attitude thing has remained constant across any
Yeah.
function like which you have had.
Yeah. I think the more you talk about it, the more it's very clear that, you're okay to, compromise a bit on what the existing skills of somebody are or what function they've worked at in the past. And you're essentially trying to over optimize and give a lot of importance to this attitude, that they carry. And if they have probably the right attitude, you'll figure out a role for them or something will, figure out itself. But attitude is also something, which probably like means different thing to different people. If you had to like double click a bit there, like what are the specific elements within attitude that you look for?
Right.
uh yeah.
So first thing is like they have to be ambitious. Like one needs to be ambitious, then only they can achieve like extraordinary things. So that visualization, that ambition should come out. Like if I ask them what do you want to do, and they say I want to become a billionaire one day, then how badly you want to become a billionaire? Let's say what all things you are ready to do. Are you ready to like sacrifice your weekends? Are you ready to like work extra? Are you ready to like just put 100%? I'm not saying that this is always the case, but it's just these are like marks that nobody has to work. Like we also don't like always in the firefighting mode, but if time requires and if there is something, then we can't say that, hey, this is weekend, I can't do it. Like if there is something critical to the company, then we have to do. So like you won't believe, like in my company there are like many people whom I would just say that I want this KPI. Now go and don't talk to me until you hit those KPIs. And I've done this like multiple times, and people have outperformed multiple times. So they work with heavy ownership where they understand what is exactly is required, and then they would go into it. So I'll tell you like one very interesting thing. So we usually encourage people, so we ask them to join at a pay cut in our company most of the times. So people join at a 50% pay cut, 40%, 30% pay cut. We hardly give increments when somebody joins from somewhere else. It is a culture and a rule in our company. But if they outperform, like we set periods within 3 months, 6 months, they're like proper KPIs and proper numbers. If you hit them, then we are okay to give you like 100% increment, which would be, let's say, 60% from your past company. I do like a lot of interviews where I would ask them that, let's say right now you are at X, how much increment you want? So they say 20%. So once, like I remember a person, so he said, I want 20%. So I said, oh, you are at 20. So 20% means that just at this number 24. So, but my budget is like 30. So I want to give 30. So he was in shock that 30, but I didn't expect it this much. So I said, I have these KPIs. If you fill it, like I really want to give 30. So, and then he said that, okay, but then I said that you have to like literally prove it, or you have to show that you can do it. So then I said that, okay, you do like a 2 month internship or basically a consultancy kind of a project. And these are the metrics. If you're able to hit this, I will give you 30. And for this period, I'll only pay you like 15, not even like 20 if you're getting 20 there. So now for them, for that person, like it became high risk kind of a thing, right? But if the risk is too much, then only they go at that extra mile and they put it. And that we hired that person at 15, and then within 2 months, that person outperformed, and we gave 30, like as what we promised.
Wow. Wow. Very, I would say, unique sort of setup. I'm also sure, some of these things that you mentioned, I think a lot of founders talk about how critical ownership is and some of these things are. But also, these are things which are sometimes very, very hard to filter for when you are interviewing someone, right?
True, true.
And one way that you, of course, mentioned is that you probably do like a short term work trial of sorts with them where you actually see whether they are enjoying and they are doing well or not. Are there other such things, which you've figured out uh, have worked well in filtering for these qualities, and vice versa? Are there, have there been instances where you say in the interviews felt very, very positively about, a candidate, and you later learned that okay, this is maybe something which can be faked, or it was like a misread from your end or something like that.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, like not one, not two, I think more than 10, 15, 20 times we have felt that, oh shit, we hired wrong person. And so that's why I told you that one line na, that it is a relationship. It is like a marriage. So we both have to be very happy. So if any of the party is not happy, then you can't like live. Like we have to like go apart. So I tell this like very clearly in the beginning only now. So we have like a 3 month का period, and अगर उसमें if they are not able to perform, or we are not able to basically give them things what they expect, then no point of like stretching it, right? Like we all have like our own things, we all are heroes of our life. So maybe not this culture, maybe you would go and fit, because this is again like there is nothing right or wrong. I'm not saying this is the right culture, this is our culture, and if somebody is okay to align with our culture, then it is great. But if they're not okay, they want like some other kind of a culture, then they can free to go there. You won't believe I hired a candidate, uh, and like in a year, shifted him across 4 functions. So I was trying to make sure that he remains. So in one function, like he was not able to perform. So the person said that no, we don't want him. Then we shifted to another. And luckily, after 1 year, like now it's almost more than a year. Now he has found his basically place, and he's very outperforming in that function. Like we are very happy. So this has also happened in our company where it took like a year to figure out what that person was good at. But I'll be very honest that we have been like misinterpreted like multiple times where we were not able to understand the person, and later on we got to know. So this happens, it is completely normal, but we tell this very initially in the beginning itself, that let's say if you don't like us or we don't like us, so that's why on the compensation also, many people whom we hire, we tell that we'll finalize the compensation after 3 months. Like whenever they ask for an extra number, the example which I was trying to tell you, like 20 to 15 lakhs, and then giving that number, that because if we are not able to assess, and if we are not happy, if we think that we are overpaying for what you're contributing, then we won't be happy now. Then we will also expect you more, we will also have. So why to create such situations? Everything has to be very honest and all. So this has happened, and we have to be like honest about it, that it is okay that it has happened. Like let's move on and find out the next person.
Got it. So you basically prioritize having that honest conversation with them upfront, that you would like some time to essentially evaluate whether they are a fit, where they are a fit in the company, and based on that decide their compensation. Sometimes it could be much more than what they were at, sometimes it could be less. But essentially, that period is what something that they should also be okay with to spend time on. And if they're not okay with it, then probably it's not the
Right.
right place for them. I think you talked about a couple of things about culture already. I was planning to ask you a dedicated question around what would you like people to know about Anveshan's culture.
So one thing, like we have understood very properly that it takes a village to raise a kid. So if anybody asks me that what is the biggest strength in Innovation, I will never say my product quality supply. I will always say my team. So the people like who are in our company are like so driven, so passionate. Like a lot of times we derive our passion from them. Like we get inspiration from them. So we are very proud of that culture, that somehow we have nurtured it, and we are very grateful and happy to the kind of people who are there in our team. So I'll tell you, like, once in operations also, there was a person who was struggling at a 20,000 orders per day kind of a number, one of our warehouse, and he was not able to push it. And then we told him, and then we sent one of our senior manager who went there to help. And after a week, that unit dispatched 55,000 in one day. So
Wow.
that was like exceptional. I was also not sure that they can do it, but we pushed that no, you can do it. And all of those were like literally warriors who just went there and who were like just sleeping for 4 hours and then just on the warehouse, and they built the systems. They understood where it was a problem because of which they were doing only 20,000, and they fixed it. And highly ownership people. And now, and I told them that if you do the number 2x, then you also take 2x. So there are many people who joined at, let's say, 20,000 rupees per month and now earning like 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees per month. So again, like somebody who have like drive, ambition, passion, I think that is something. And then I think in our company, everything is KPI driven. So anything, like, we don't speak in English or Hindi, we only talk in numbers. So there are like fixed KPIs for each and every person, and which is linked to essentially the company's OKR. So how they have performed, like nobody has to tell, like numbers, you can just see the dashboard and see how they have performed. So I think essentially that is the culture where everyone is like very honest with what they're doing, and the numbers tell them again how they're doing.
Got it. Interesting. And out of all the these roles that you've hired for, you talked a lot about like all the attitude related stuff that you look for when you're hiring people. But you also mentioned that there are some roles in the company where you essentially also need a bit of previous experience for that role to do well. It could be finance, it could be branding, it could be something else. uh, Keeping that in mind, when you're hiring for a role like that, you're looking for, you have a very high bar for the attitude of the person, but you also want like a high bar for probably the core skill that they are bringing to the table. And I'm sure it might be very tough to hire people when you're looking for both those things. Are there any specific functions or roles where you think it's been much harder to hire for such kind of people?
Sure. So maybe I can talk specifically about D2C industry. So I think hiring N minus one, or basically hiring management senior leadership, is like more critical and more difficult, I would say. If you'll see Anveshan's data, then a lot of our management roles, we have took 1 year, 1.5 year to close that role. So for finance head, we took 1.5 year to close. Like we interviewed more than, I don't know how, 100 plus like people, like through multiple agencies, but because we were not getting that right attitude or maybe that right skill. So, and we didn't wanted to compromise. We were very clear that, like it is difficult that, let's say, somebody who is at a brand which is, let's say, at a scale of 1,000 crores, and they're leading something. So they have already proved in life, right? They must be already getting good salaries and all. Now, again, firing that, having that fire that I want to again build something and do something crazy, that is very rare to see. Because if you'll see, mostly people are like happy or they're getting good money. So one pattern what we have seen, that somebody, let's say, who have taken a brand from, let's say, 500 crore to 1,000 crore, and they were not the N minus one, but they were the N minus two or N minus three, who saw the journey very closely, and but who were like on the back seat when this rocket ship was going. And this is a very tricky thing. Like if you hire a wrong person in management, then things can go very wrong. Like,
Yeah. Very interesting. Awesome. I think you've shared, like, I would say, a lot of details around, how it's like to probably, work at Anveshan, which I'm hoping will be useful for, a bunch of folks. I'll probably ask you, the last, one or two questions, and then I'll, let you go. Uh, so, I'm sure like there are a lot of people, other, founders today who aspire to build a brand like yours. What would your advice to someone like that be, who aspires to build a brand this big? That advice could be around team building, hiring, or that advice could be something else. But is there anything that you'd like to say based on your journey so far?
yeah, definitely. And even I invest in a lot of brands. So I've invested across 5, 6 brands in last 5, 6 years. So I think there are few things, I think, which I'm very bullish and I'm very strong about them, that everybody or maybe many people can follow in order to achieve things. So one is focus. So I have learned that usually founders like try to do like so many things for so many places for so many consumers. That doesn't make sense. Like it, you have to be like very, very, very highly focused. Like try to solve one problem for maybe 10 people and just focus on those 10 people and try to like understand it very properly. Like before you have solved a problem, you're trying to scale it and do things, and then you're raising capital and then you're shutting it down. So that is not the right approach. So first is like focus, which I feel that you don't try to do too many things. Try to do like very, like if you can just sell one product, great, amazing, best thing ever. Matlab. Maybe
And
if
I think you started with one product, right?
yeah, I started with two categories like ghee and oils, but initially it was just oil. Now also like as a company in this 300 crores, like 140 crores would be oil and 150 crores would be ghee. Like still just two.
Wow.
And in between, like we tried doing so many things, and your focus divides, your marketing budget divides, your thinking divides, your everything divides, your supply chain divides. So it's better to focus on one thing and then do. So I think focus is one thing which is very critical. Then second is like we as founders are like especially Indian founders, like I have learned this from Kunal Shah's one of the video. So he mentioned that we as Indian founders are like so much obsessed with our ideas. We treat them as our babies, and we are not able to do critique to it. Like we feel no, this is the best solution. This is how it should be, and yeah, people are liking it. Even people are like throwing it and not saying it in front of your face, but people are not able to accept it. So I think having that view of lens of neutrality and not getting too much obsessed with your idea and understanding whether it is actually solving or not is like very, very critical. That is, I think, a mistake which many people I see making around me, where they just get obsessed with it. So don't get obsessed with it, and like have a neutral view and like have all perspectives open and have like right metrics to assess whether it is helping or contributing or not. There are like always some right honest metrics to understand that. Then also I think Delta 4 theory again from Kunal Shah's podcast that like anything which you are building, like I have seen many founders again in D2C brand, they just launch a one more product which is already there in the market. So if there is like no addition which you are doing in consumer life in any aspect, like that could be service, that could be product, that could be marketing, if you're not doing any delta 4 thing, delta 4 is basically experience before that product and after that product, and it had to more than 4 if you rate out of 10 in both the scenarios. So I think having that Delta 4 approach and having basically right thought towards it and not basically getting so much possessive about this is also something which people should learn. And I think first few set of people are very important. Like, I have now few people in my life that irrespective of Anveshan is there or not there, if V3 or V5 or V6 are standing anywhere, we can do anything, like anything in the world. So having that kind of, confidence with few people around you is also something very critical. So if you can have like two, three people, four people initially with you who have like same rigor and passion, and that would be like super helpful and good for initial days.
Wow, very cool. I think a lot of interesting learnings there for founders who are starting out. And last question, have you in your journey, I'm sure you might have come across people who you looked up to when it came to how they build the team or how they build the company. Uh, are there any such people that you would like to call out who you think might be interesting guests, for us to bring on?
I think Dipender Goyal, I think from Zomato. So again, there also I've seen again many podcasts, and I know a lot of people who still work in Zomato, Blinkit. So the kind of culture they had, so they had this culture that it's like a family, and whoever performs, like they will basically give them proper reward. So we have inculcated this in our team. Almost each and every person in our company has like variables defined where they can even get 100% increment if they achieve those KPIs. So everybody knows that what they exactly needs to do if they really want to grow financially in their life. So I think that is again I learned somewhat from the Zomato culture.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for sharing all of this with us. I hope the Anveshan brand keeps growing. I think you started this whole health oil category much before health foods was as cool as it is today. So kudos once again, on the journey so far. I hope it keeps growing. I hope you keep attracting great people. And it was super fun to chat with you.